Hi, welcome back for another installment, another video snippet from Angels and Syrup. Today we're going to read the first part of chapter 3. Just so as you know, the chapters aren't numbered in the book. They have individual chapter names, and all the chapter names have to do with miracles that the book talks about. There's more here than you think. I think it's worth a read. People that have read it like it. It's very different. It's not what you expect. You're going to learn a whole bunch of stuff. Guaranteed, and you'll have fun doing it. Okie doke. If you're ready, here we are. This one's called Norway. When Dave had come home after his pastrami sandwich with the angel yesterday, he let Bast inside, dumped a can of food into a plate for the cat, and headed straight for his bedroom. Too much had happened to Dave in too short a period of time, and all he wanted to do was go to sleep. He walked into the darkened room and up to the bed, felt the mattress hit his shins, and let himself fall forward and into sleep. When Dave woke up later, the room was darker than he had remembered it being. It must be night, he thought. He realized that he was lying on his stomach somehow. Dave felt sluggish and almost paralyzed. Then he heard a soft rumbling and knew that the nearly overpowering heaviness that he felt was just Bast sitting on his back. Dave wiggled just the least little bit, which should never annoy the cat he remembered from somewhere, to let the cat know of his intentions. Bast stood up on Dave's back, her pointy little feet digging into the tender spots where Dave's ribs met his spine, and after considering her options, she turned around and ambled toward Dave's butt. When she reached his rear, she stopped, stretched, and sunk her claws into his posterior, getting a little exercise in before, after 5 or 10 seconds, hopping off and onto the mattress. Dave was fine for about a minute. Then he remembered his lunch with Harvey, the Valkyrie and the tree on the way home from Mr. Smith's, and his first meeting with the angel the day before. Dave decided right then and there that he needed a drink. Or 3. Dave wasn't much of a drinker. He had this realization as he opened the doors to the shelf in the kitchen that he called his liquor cabinet. He looked inside and found a quarter of a bottle of tequila, Siete Angeles Españoles, an old bottle with a few drops of cheap rum, Whalers, another bottle with a few sips left of bourbon, Heaven Hill, an almost unopened bottle of gin, Old Tom, most of a bottle of white creme de menthe, Uferd Menthe Pastille, half a bottle of some budget Polish vodka, Aniol, a bottle of bitters, and a dusty bottle of maraschino cherries. Dave looked over at the bowl on the counter and saw some lemons, so he took the gin, the creme de menthe, the bitters, and the cherries from the shelf. It seemed like a good bunch of booze to throw together. He put the bottles down on the counter next to the cutting board. He found a tall glass and tossed 3 ice cubes into it. Then he poured in some of the gin, a little of the creme de menthe, and a dash of the bitters. He cut 2 lemons in half and squeezed them both into the glass until they were juiceless. He stirred the drink with his finger and tasted his concoction. Not too bad, Dave thought. He put a cherry on the top. Over the next couple of hours, Dave remade his drink 5 or 6, no one, much less Dave, was counting, more times. Dave was pretty drunk by the time that he decided that making just one more drink was too much trouble. That was then he stumbled off to bed again. When Dave next woke up, it was morning. And when he attempted to open his eyes, the searing pain of the sunlight slicing off the top of his head through his squinting eyes prevented him from doing anything more involved than rolling over and clutching a pillow to shut out the goddamn light. The hangover, if that's what it was, Dave was pretty sure that it was a brain tumor, was so intense that Dave decided that breathing was much too loud to even consider, so he held his breath until he began to pass out. When he inhaled again, as his lungs eventually demanded, the screaming pain returned and Dave held his breath as long as he could. This went on for a while, and eventually Dave was able to breathe, open his eyes, and think about sitting up without too much pain. Dave made the only decision that he could. He called in sick again. Dave stumbled around his little house for most of the morning, managing to take a bath. The shower would have been much too loud. Eat a bowl of cornflakes. They were quite quietly soggy in the milk, and feed the cat if she would only stop that damned thundering purring and let her out. Then he lay down on the couch in the living room and took a nap. Dave woke up later feeling much better. He heard an insistent scratching at the kitchen door and went to see who was there. It was Bast with her daily gift. Some kind of rodent, too big to be a field mouse. Maybe it was a lemming. Lemmings live in the Midwest? Dave didn't know. So he picked up Bast's largesse in a paper towel and took it to his desk where he could get a good look at the little corpse while he Googled it. Lemmings, Dave thought first. The internet told him that lemmings were creatures of the Arctic, and they were relatively small, 3 to 6 inches in length with short tails, and weighed a little less than 4 ounces. This rodent was bigger than that, about 9 or 10 inches long with an equally long tail, and it probably weighed, Dave guessed, more than half a pound. And after a little judicious searching, Dave figured it out. Bast had brought him a brown rat. Terrific, Dave thought, until he realized that Bast was sitting on the desk right beside him. Bast headbutted Dave, and Dave scritched the cat in thanks. Good girl, Dave told her. And then Dave took the dead rat out to the garbage can in the garage. Dave felt singularly uninspired, and rather than putting any effort at all into any of the many little tasks that needed to be done around his home, Dave felt the need to pull himself together and make sure that his headache and the queasy stomach would settle down by watching television. So he walked into the living room and made himself comfortable on the couch. As soon as he had done that, Bast jumped onto his lap, demanding to be petted. As Dave scratched behind her ears and rubbed her back and shoulders, he reached for the television remote and punched the power button. The TV sprang into life with a cheerful commercial for a surefire remedy for some truly intimate and personal affliction, one that Dave didn't have, thank God, and one that he now knew he never wanted to have. When the commercial finished, the screen melted into a serene scene of mountains and deep craggy valleys, and a man's gentle but heavily accented voice announced over some flowingly orchestrated, folksy-sounding music that this was Norway, land of beauty. Dave decided that this would be a pleasantly minded entertainment that would help his hangover fade gently away. So he petted the cat and leaned back into the comfortable cushions of his couch, opening himself to the lush allure of the land of the midnight sun, as the disembodied voice called it.